This is a smartphone with 5 front-facing cameras, and it was one of Amazon's biggest failure that costed them $170 million. But this failure led to the success of Alexa and Kindle. In this video, we'll talk about how Amazon designed the Firephone, why it failed, and how it led to the success of Alexa and Kindle. But before we move forward, please consider subscribing if you like to watch more content related to design and science behind the products. So we all know Amazon for its online store, and they've got a huge range of software products like Prime Video, Prime Music, Audible, and even AWS. But back in 2014, Amazon was trying to enter into a totally different market: smartphones. At this time, Apple and Samsung were absolutely dominating the industry, selling millions of phones every year with the iPhones and Galaxy lineups. Despite this intense competition, Amazon thought that maybe they could break into the game, and honestly, they got all the resources necessary for that. So they started developing their very first smartphone, one they believed could rival Apple and Samsung, the Firephone. If we talk about the design, it was very sleek and kinda inspired by iPhone 4S. If you see from the back, it has the same black color and glossy glass surface. They used Gorilla Glass 3 on the front and the back with a rubber coating on the metal frame to provide an easy grip. Buttons and charging port were chamfered with CNC, but one of the standout design features was the 5 front-facing cameras. One regular and 4 of them placed like screws at each corner, like if they're holding the phone together. And all these extra cameras were there for one feature called 3D dynamic perspective. Basically, all the 4 cameras together track your head movements, and as you move the phone, the screen would shift to create this 3D effect that followed you. It was a great optical illusion which looked cool, but it did not really add much to the user experience and drained a ton of battery life. I guess at the end of the day, people just wanted a solid smartphone, not a 3D display that drained battery life and did not make everyday tasks easier. And believe it or not, this phone had an action button like the new iPhone back in 2014. But it performed just 2 actions. First, it opens the camera, and second, it opens the camera again, but this time it opens up with a feature called Firefly, which is basically a Google Lens version of Amazon. So whenever you open the camera with Firefly and point it at any object, it starts analyzing the object with fireflies all around, and then it gives you all the information about the object. But unlike Google Lens, it just did not open a Wikipedia page, but it would take you to the Amazon website where you can buy that product. It made your phone basically a retail scanner for the world. It was a great effort by Amazon to create an ecosystem which is deeply rooted in a phone's design. But again, for most of the user, it felt like a gimmick. It's really great in concept, but you would not make a buying decision for a smartphone based on this and choose Firephone over iPhone or Galaxy phone. So it wasn't that the Firephone design was bad, it just didn't bring enough to the table to justify its price. When it was launched, it was around $649, but then it was dropped to first $200 and then to $160. This kind of price drop shows the company's skepticism about the product. You'll never see Apple or Samsung dropping prices like this. They sold only 35,000 of these products and then finally discontinued it. So there were 3 main reasons for the failure. First, gimmicky and unpractical features like 3D display and Firefly that we already talked about. Second, a higher price of $649, which nobody was willing to pay. Third, and the most interesting reason, was limited software and bad user experience. The Firephone came with its own Fire OS, which was a heavily customized version of Android with a ton of Amazon's own apps. But it lacked basic universal apps like App Store, YouTube, Gmail, etc. Amazon seemed to focus too much on integrating its retail services into the phone rather than creating a smartphone that excelled in the core areas consumers really care about, like battery life, app availability, camera quality, etc. This gave the impression that the Firephone was more about pushing Amazon's product and services than about providing a great user experience. Despite the Firephone's flop, Amazon did not abandon the physical products. They took the lessons learned from its failure and applied them to create some of their most successful products, Kindle and Alexa. They did it by overcoming all the previous failures. First, they focused on solving real-life problems, not gimmicks. Like for Kindle, they focused on solving a single problem of making reading more accessible and enjoyable in this digital age. The e-ink display, long battery life, and lightweight design all are built with one goal in mind: a great reading experience. Unlike the Firephone's gimmick, Kindle focused on the essentials and delivered exactly what book lovers needed. And when they created Alexa and the Eco Smart speakers, they focused on voice-activated convenience instead of packing in unnecessary features. They made Alexa practical. She could answer questions, control smart home devices, set reminders, and more. It was a simple, intuitive experience, and that's what made Alexa so popular among the people. Secondly, they focused on building an ecosystem instead of isolating the user. When designing Alexa, Amazon went to the opposite direction from the Firephone. So instead of locking users into a limited ecosystem, they opened up Alexa's platform for developers. Then developers created thousands of useful voice commands, from controlling your smart lights to ordering food. Alexa do this, Alexa do that, became a household noise. And then companies started to create IoT products keeping Alexa in mind. The more compatible Alexa became, the more valuable she was to the users. Same with the Kindle. They did not just make a device, they created a whole platform for reading by offering Kindle version of every book on Amazon and launching Audible. This allows users to seamlessly switch between reading and listening to a book. And finally, they learned how to price things based on value. The Firephone's high cost was a major barrier to entry, especially for a device that did not offer enough value to justify it. So they made Alexa and Kindle affordable and accessible to a broader market. When the first Eco speaker were launched, it was relatively affordable, but Amazon quickly released cheaper models like the Echo Dot to reach even more users. The lower price point made it easy for people to buy the first one as an experiment. Once they experienced the benefit of Alexa, they were hooked, and then they bought additional devices for other rooms in their homes. Similarly, Amazon kept the Kindle lineup affordable by using e-ink displays, which not only lowered the cost, but increased the battery life and overall reading experience. Over the years, they have introduced a variety of models from basic Kindle to the premium Kindle Oasis to provide options for each segment. But still, Kindle Paperwhite is their best seller till date. So this story of the Firephone reminds us that innovation must be rooted in genuine user needs rather than flashy gimmicks. Amazon's attempt to break into the smartphone market with the Firephone not only highlighted the challenges of entering a saturated industry, but also showed us that how important user experience is. By focusing on solving real-world problems, building an inclusive ecosystem, and offering value through affordability, Amazon transformed its approach to product development, which paved the way for Amazon's tremendous success with Kindle and Alexa. This evolution shows that sometimes setbacks can be the catalyst for future successes. As we continue to witness the growth of technology, it's essential to remember that the best innovation are those that makes our lives simple, not complicated. If you found this exploration of the Firephone and its legacy insightful, maybe you would like to watch this video about how one-man data ramps impacted all the products that we use today. That's it for today. I'll see you next time. Thank you.